Hey guys, this is Daryl, Louisiana Simple Living. Thanks for coming back to the channel. So today I'm going to do a quick video and do a planting that I actually forgot about. So, going through all the spring planting, everything I did, I forgot about one key item that I like to have in my garden because there's nothing like it fresh versus getting it at the grocery store, and that's ginger. That's right, ginger you can grow in your own backyard. If you're in like zone 9A, you can grow it. Have no problem with that. Maybe even a little bit colder, a little bit more north. You may have to put it in a container though, because once it gets a full freeze, it's going to damage the stalks, damage those bamboo-like stalks. But nevertheless, that's what I want to talk about today, is going ahead and planting some of this ginger. There's nothing like it fresh versus something you get at the store. And I can assure you, this hard skin that's on here comes after being pulled out of the ground for a little bit. These are actually from my ginger last year, so you can tell they've shrunken way up. But when you pull ginger out of the ground, it's a soft skin, and it's very colorful, yellowish red, and it's just as fresh as you can get. It just blows away this kind of stuff out of the supermarket. Still good, but doing it fresh, man, it just blows everything else away. Now, ginger can grow year-round, typically in like South Louisiana, South Texas, and we're talking about the very south of those states, South California, South Florida, especially 9B and above, right? So the reason for that is the temperatures, right? So if it gets around to 50 or 50 to 55 degrees, the plants typically go dormant. Once they go dormant, they're not going to grow a whole lot more. Your leaves will start yellowing and withering. Now what you also have though, if you have a pretty hard freeze, it will go ahead and kill back or destroy those bamboo-like stalks that you have coming out of the ground. So you have two choices at that point when you're living down here where it's a lot hotter. I typically just go in there and I've harvested all the ginger at one time. One thing you can do is over time you can start breaking off just a couple little sections. It'll keep growing. But once it does hit freezing, it just knocks back all the vegetation. One thing I will try this year is to leave some in over winter and see what, in the spring, the stalk should start coming out when it gets warm enough that it likes the temperature. It will go ahead and sprout again. So I'm gonna give that a shot in 9A. We'll see if I can keep it as a perennial. Absolutely love that fresh ginger stuff. And for colder weather type of gardeners, you can use containers as well. Use a good sized container with a lot of compost, nutrients, and it will grow in there. And look, if it's going to get close to freezing, just go ahead and bring it on the garage or bring it inside in an area at least that it won't freeze, and you can keep that plant going year round. So containers is a choice as well. All right, so ginger grows, and these are called rhizomes, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't always pronounce words just right. Oops, I just broke that on accident. This was one whole piece. These three were together, and I broke them into two. So what you want to try to get down is 2-inch pieces or so. Here's the ones from last year. We'll grow that as well. Now these rhizomes, as you can tell, it spreads. So that's what the rhizome kind of root underneath the ground. It spreads horizontally. So it's going to spread out. We're going to plant this piece. It'll spread out maybe 8 inches wide, something like that. It just depends how long you are able to let it grow. And so that's what you need to have, these buds. A bamboo-like shoot shoots up above the ground like a bamboo-like stalk. And so those stalks, they gather the energy from the sun, transfer it down into the rhizomes down underneath the ground, allowing it to horizontally and vertically spread. So when you have these planted, like right now, it's plenty hot, and it's actually very late. I should have done this back in late March. Just forgot about it, to be honest. I was doing a lot of other stuff. But these will be planted as it gets above like 50 to 55 degrees, then they no longer are dormant. So if you're doing these as a perennial, keeping them lasting throughout the same year, so the stalks will die back. And then once it gets above 55 or so, then you start having some life here. They come out of dormancy, and those stalks start coming up out of the ground, drawing the energy and pushing it into these rhizomes here, allowing it to grow. All right, so you got a couple options when you get to your ginger. You can order it online from different shops. I've never done that though, because all I do is go to the grocery store, find an organic section. Hopefully they have organic ginger, and go ahead and buy a big piece of that. So I took that ginger I bought from the grocery store. You want to cut it up in about 2-inch wide sections. Make sure you got 1 or 2 buds on each. That's the sprouts that'll come up in that stalks that come up, the kind of bamboo-like. That's what you want to have. But you got a couple of buds on here, 1, 2, 3. on that one. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. Before we plant these, you want to make sure you're planting it in some soil that's going to be beneficial for our ginger. So it needs to be nutrient rich. It needs to be friable. The water's got to be able to drain out of it, which is what a good raised bed does for you with the right kind of soil, which is what I got. You also have to make sure that there's plenty of compost, you know, from a nutrient standpoint, for these bad boys to grow and get those stalks that are 3 or 4 foot high, and have, you know, have a mess of ginger off from that one plant from one piece like this. Make sure you got the nutrients. That's the first thing you got to make sure you're doing. You got some compost mixed in, or if not, at least dressed on top of the soil. You want to plant it about 2 inches deep, 1.5 to 2 inches deep. You want to make sure these buds are sticking up, so they'll grow out with those bamboo-like stalks. All right, so let's go ahead and plant some of these. So you want to dig down. You want to plant these about 2 inches deep. Got to get all this mulch off. Let's go ahead and grab this one. So if you look at it, it's not bigger than 2 inches, maybe even less. But look at the pods ready to come out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and bury that. And it's got to be about 2 inches deep. So let's go ahead and cover it up. All right, so the next step, we've got to go about 12 to 18 inches. The closer to 18 you can get, the better, because these things will spread out. So let's go ahead and plant another one. That's about 1.5 feet here. 2 inches deep again. Here's another pretty one on 5. This is from my ones from last year. Get down a little bit further. All right. Let's go ahead and cover that one back up. All these worms. Go over here, worm. I don't want you to get hurt when I plant you. Let's cover it up. Get down just a little bit more. All right, 2 inches. 1.5, 2 inches. It's not big of a deal either way. You can talk about earthworms, this kind of soil that I got. 1, 2, 3, 4 that I just got from this one hole that I just did with ginger. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest later. It's super hot out here, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and water them in. Then next I'm going to go ahead and get some of that organic root stimulator, put a little bit on those, and then they'll be set, ready to go. Water them all in good. All right, this is Bloom City's organic super micro root stimulator. All right, just pour a little bit in here. That's plenty. Pull my hose out and I'm gonna fill this up. Not really enough just for three plants, so make sure I water it down fairly good. Yeah, just a little bit here. A little bit here. And a little bit over here. All right, I added that organic root stimulator. So to get those plants off to a good start. So the plants, the rhizomes are perfectly fine at this point. In a week and a half or so, you will have stalks. Those bamboo-like stalks start coming out of the ground. When you see that, you know your ginger root or the rhizome has rooted and it's starting to grow. That's good times, and you can watch it grow. It'll grow actually up to 3-4 foot tall. So I'll give you guys an update on the ginger as it starts growing, developing. I'll put that in some of my videos just to give y'all an update, to show you how that's doing. There's 3 plants that I planted. I'm gonna have ginger that there's no way I can eat at all. So I've done a video on preserving ginger. I'll put a link down below in my ginger video, and it'll show you a couple different ways you can preserve it. Once you're ready to harvest it, we got to be able to either use it or preserve it so it's not a waste. Hey guys, thanks for joining me back at Louisiana Simple Living again today. Just did a quick video. Wanted to get out and plant some ginger. Yeah, so we're definitely late planting this ginger. Nevertheless, we'll go ahead and plant it, let it grow. And just a reminder, to get this to grow the way we want it, we don't want to come out and put, 13 fertilizer. We want to put some organic fertilizer like I did just now. In 3 or 4 weeks, you may want to add a little bit more. Depends how it's doing. I don't typically have to add any fertilizer, but nevertheless, if you need to, I employ you to use organic fertilizer because it's just better for you. And the whole point being, feed the soil and not the plant. I'll put a link down below to feed the soil, not the plant video. If you watch one video on my channel, that's probably the one you need to watch because it's that important to what we're doing from an organic gardening perspective. Also, check out my Spring Garden 101 series, as I mentioned earlier. It's a very informative series, takes you through the whole process of getting a garden going. If you haven't subscribed as yet, please subscribe. Like this video. And go ahead and feel free to share it. As I always say, make memories now rather than later. Make memories with your family and friends on this Memorial Day weekend. It is critically important that we think about all the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice for us to be free and to live here in the great US of A. Many a soldier, many a good man and woman put their lives on the line, and some took the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you from the Fergusons and Louisiana Simple Living for everything you guys do, and the ones who sacrificed even more to keep us free. Again, thanks for coming to the channel, and as always, I will see you on the next video.